You already know something is wrong. You feel it in your chest every time she picks up her phone and angles it away from you. You've asked her directly. She denied it. She made you feel crazy for even asking. But here is what most men don't understand. Confrontation doesn't get confessions. Psychology does. Today, I'm going to give you 5 specific phrases rooted in behavioral psychology that bypass her defenses and make the truth impossible to hold back. But phrase number 4 is the one that breaks the dam wide open. Let's get into it. Here is the brutal truth most men miss. When a woman is hiding something, she has already rehearsed. She has already built a wall of denial inside her mind. She knows the questions you're going to ask. She has answers ready. And every time you come at her with anger, accusations, or ultimatums, you are playing directly into her script. Think about it. What does every man do when he suspects cheating? He raises his voice. He demands answers. He says things like, "I know you're lying." And what happens? She cries, she deflects, she turns it around on him. Suddenly he's the bad guy. Suddenly he's the controlling one. And now he's apologizing for asking a legitimate question. This happens because direct accusations trigger something called psychological reactance. It's a well-documented phenomenon. When a person feels their freedom or self-image is under attack, they don't open up. They double down. They dig in harder. The walls get thicker. So the harder you push, the deeper she buries it. That's the trap. And that's exactly why 90% of men never get the truth. They use force when they need precision. The 5 phrases I'm about to give you don't use force. They use something far more powerful. They use emotional architecture. Each phrase is designed to dismantle a specific psychological defense: guilt suppression, narrative control, identity protection, compartmentalization, and emotional flooding. But before I give you the first phrase, you need to understand the one rule that makes all 5 of these work. Break this rule and none of them will land. The golden rule: you must deliver every single one of these phrases from a position of calm. Not cold, not robotic, calm. The moment you raise your voice, clench your jaw, or let anger leak into your tone, her survival brain activates. And once that happens, you're no longer talking to your wife. You're talking to a defense attorney. Calm is not weakness. Calm is control. And control is what separates the man who gets the truth from the man who gets played for another 6 months. Now, let's get into the phrases. Phrase 1. I'm not angry. I'm just trying to understand what happened to us. Most men lead with accusation. That's a mistake. This phrase does the opposite. It removes the threat. Here is why it works. The word angry is the first thing she expects. By taking it off the table immediately, you disarm her rehearsed defense. She was ready for a fight. You just took the fight away. Then the phrase shifts from you to us. You're not pointing a finger. You're standing beside her, looking at the wreckage together. This triggers something psychologists call the alliance frame. Instead of positioning yourself as her enemy, you've positioned yourself as a partner trying to understand. This creates a problem for her, because now if she lies, she's not lying to an angry husband. She's lying to a man who is being reasonable. And lying to a reasonable person produces far more guilt than lying to an angry one. You haven't accused her of anything, but you've planted a seed, and that seed is going to grow as you move through the next 4 phrases. Now, understanding this first phrase is important, but if you use it without what comes next, she'll simply comfort you and change the subject. Phrase number 2 is what locks the door behind her. Phrase 2. I've already accepted what happened. I just need to hear it from you. This phrase is a psychological earthquake. Let me explain why. It implies you already know. You haven't said what you know. You haven't shown evidence. But you've communicated that the discovery phase is over. In her mind, the question is no longer, does he know? The question becomes, how much does he know? That shift is everything. This exploits a principle called information asymmetry anxiety. When a person believes the other party holds information they can't see, their need to control the narrative becomes overwhelming. She now feels the urge to confess, not because she wants to be honest, but because staying silent means you control the story. The second part, I just need to hear it from you, gives her a role to play. It frames the confession as something you need. Not a punishment, not a trap, a need. And women, especially those carrying guilt, are wired to respond to emotional need. You are not interrogating her. You are inviting her to participate in the resolution. And that distinction is what makes this phrase nearly impossible to deflect. But here is the critical warning. After you say this, you must go silent. Do not fill the silence. Do not elaborate. Do not give her an escape hatch. Silence after this phrase does more work than any follow-up sentence ever could. Most men can't handle the silence. They panic, they keep talking, and the moment they do, she knows they're bluffing. If you can hold that silence for even 15 seconds, you will see the cracks form in real time. Now, phrases 1 and 2 soften the walls. Phrase 3 is what starts pulling them down. And it works because it targets something she didn't expect you to understand. Phrase 3. I know this isn't who you wanted to become. Read that again. This phrase doesn't attack her. It separates her from her actions. And that separation is the key to everything. Here is the psychology. Every person who does something they know is wrong goes through a process called moral disengagement. They build a mental barrier between their identity and their behavior. I'm not a cheater. It just happened. It didn't mean anything. And that's moral disengagement. This phrase cuts right through it. By saying this isn't who you wanted to become, you are acknowledging her identity while simultaneously confronting the gap between who she believes she is and what she's done. That gap is where the guilt lives. And until now, she has been able to keep that gap sealed shut. This phrase rips it open. It also communicates something unexpected: empathy. You are showing her that you understand she's human, that you understand people make mistakes. And paradoxically, that empathy makes it harder for her to maintain the lie. Because now, the lie isn't protecting her from an enemy. The lie is betraying someone who still sees her as a person. This is the phrase where most women's composure begins to break. Not because you attacked, because you understood. But composure breaking is not the same as confessing. She might cry, she might go quiet, she might even start to speak and then stop herself. That's her ego making one last stand. Phrase 4 is what finishes it. Phrase 4. You don't have to protect me from the truth. I can handle it. This is the kill shot. And it works because of one word: protect. When a woman withholds the truth, she often tells herself a story to justify it. He can't handle it. It would destroy him. I'm protecting him by not telling him. That story is a life raft. It lets her feel noble about lying. This phrase sinks the life raft. By saying, you don't have to protect me, you have taken away her last noble excuse. You've told her directly, I am not fragile. I am not going to collapse. You cannot use my pain as a reason to keep lying. And then, I can handle it. 4 words that communicate more strength than any argument you could ever make. You are not begging. You are not threatening. You are standing in front of her as a man who has already prepared himself for the worst and is choosing truth over comfort. This phrase reframes the entire dynamic. She's no longer the one with power. You are. Because the man who can handle the truth is always more powerful than the person trying to hide it. This is where confessions happen. Not in screaming matches, not in arguments at 2 in the morning. In quiet, controlled moments where one person demonstrates that they are strong enough to hear the worst and still stand. Now, you might think we're done. We're not, because even after a confession, most men make a fatal mistake in the next 60 seconds. Phrase 5 exists to prevent that mistake, and it might be the most important one of all. Phrase 5. Thank you for telling me. Now I get to decide what happens next. This phrase does 2 things at once, and both of them are critical. First, thank you for telling me. This is not about being polite. This is about reinforcing the behavior. In behavioral psychology, this is called positive reinforcement at the point of disclosure. By thanking her for the truth, you are communicating that honesty, even painful honesty, is met with respect in your presence. This keeps the door open for full disclosure if she has only given you a partial confession. And partial confessions are extremely common. Most people test the waters. They admit to something small to see how you react before revealing the full picture. If you explode at the first admission, you will never hear the rest. Second, now I get to decide what happens next. Read that carefully. I get to decide. Not we, not let's figure this out together. I. This phrase reestablishes your authority. It communicates that the power has shifted. She made the choice that brought you here. Now you make the choice that determines where it goes. You don't have to make that decision in the moment. In fact, you shouldn't. Simply stating that the decision is yours is enough. Walk away, take a drive, sleep on it. The point is not the decision itself. The point is that she now understands the future is in your hands. And that is a position of strength no argument could ever give you. Let me be direct with you. Most men will never use these phrases, not because they don't work, but because using them requires something most men aren't willing to develop: emotional discipline. It's easy to yell, it's easy to accuse, it's easy to slam a door and feel like you did something. But none of that gets you the truth. None of that gives you clarity. And without clarity, you cannot make a real decision about your future. You are not the kind of man who operates in the dark. You are not the kind of man who accepts a story just because it's easier than the truth. You have spent decades building a life, a reputation, a legacy, and you deserve to make decisions based on facts, not feelings, not fear, facts. These 5 phrases are not tricks, they are tools. Tools built on the same psychological principles used in high-stakes negotiation, crisis counseling, and interrogation. They work because they respect the complexity of human behavior instead of trying to bulldoze through it. Use them with discipline, use them with calm, and you will get the answers you need. Don't stay in the dark. Subscribe to Decrypted to unlock her mind and master the game of attraction.